backfield by Steve Smith. Short drop. Leinart deep, wide open, back of the end zone. Touchdown, Jarrett. They need to redefine return. He's got pictures of it. They're amazing. Deep, open, over the shoulder.
Growing up, I was a pretty die-hard USC fan. This is when I first moved from Texas to California, which, by the way, I gotta tell you guys the story of how Jerry Jones evicted me from my apartment in Texas. Well, not me, but my family. Anyways, growing up, I was a huge USC fan. And how could I not be? This is during the time where Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush were at their absolute peak. And without a doubt, this all culminated in 2006 in one of the greatest national championship games we have ever seen. The Texas Longhorns going up against the USC Trojans. Matt Leinart had everything. He won the Heisman the year before, in 2005. He had the size. He was 6'5". We're not even going to begin to mention that he came from the pro-style offense at USC. Yes, it's not like he was running the spread offense. He literally ran an NFL style of offense in USC. There was no doubt in every single analyst's mind that Matt Leinart was going to be a star in the NFL. And how his career wound up was nothing short of unfortunate. In 2003, Matt Leinart completed 63% of his passes for 3,556 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. In 2004, he completed 65.3% of his throws for 3,322 yards for 33 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And on his final season in USC, he completed 65.7% of his throws for 3,815 yards and threw 28 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy in 2005 and won the Heisman Trophy in 2004. He scored a 35 on the Wonderlic, so you can't say that he was stupid. The only knock that we were able to find on Matt Leinart is the fact that he had a fairly weak arm. But there are plenty of players that had weak arms and succeeded in the NFL. Just look at Alex Smith. He's not really known for throwing the deep ball, and yet he's an MVP contender this year. Well, enough dancing around. Let's get to it, shall we? The 2006 NFL Draft, without a doubt, was filled with curveballs and all sorts of confusion. The number 1 overall pick belonged to the Houston Texans, and without a doubt, they were going to select probably the greatest running back prospect that we've seen in years coming out of college. Heisman Trophy winner, Reggie Bush. Well, at the time, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. So when the Houston Texans came out and announced that they were selecting Mario Williams out of NC State with the number 1 pick in the NFL Draft, everyone was shocked. And from that point on, the dominoes began to fall. At the time, the New Orleans Saints were considering taking a quarterback, despite having signed the unproven Drew Brees in a free agent deal. But with a playmaker of Reggie Bush's caliber falling into their laps, the New Orleans Saints drafted Reggie Bush instead. Now, this is the craziest curveball of all. The number 1 quarterback on the draft board was considered by far to be Matt Leinart, but the Tennessee Titans opted for Vince Young instead of Matt Leinart with the number 3 overall pick, a player who, despite winning Rookie of the Year, ended up flopping as well. My personal theory as to why this happened is the fact that the Tennessee Titans were captivated with what Michael Vick was able to do for the Atlanta Falcons, and they saw that in Vince Young and wanted to harness that potential. The New York Jets were comfortable with Chad Pennington as their starter and were looking to get him more protection instead, so they drafted DeBrickashaw Ferguson. The Green Bay Packers had Brett Favre. Why would they need a quarterback? The San Francisco 49ers were 1 year removed from drafting Alex Smith number 1 overall. I believe the Buffalo Bills still had Drew Bledsoe as their quarterback, so they were fine with taking Dante Whitner. And the Detroit Lions, well, I think they were still experimenting with Joey Harrington during 2006, so they drafted Ernie Sims. With that being said, Matt Leinart dropped all the way to the number 10 pick for the Arizona Cardinals, and he seemed poised to turn around the franchise and be the face of their franchise. But for some reason, that didn't happen. In his first season with the team, Matt Leinart was not capable of beating Kurt Warner for the starting job. And honestly, in hindsight, Ken Whisenhunt doesn't look like such an idiot for starting Kurt Warner over Matt Leinart, because Kurt Warner would go on to throw for 3,417 yards, 27 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. He had a passer rating of 89.8 that year. The following year, Kurt Warner was able to take the Arizona Cardinals all the way to the Super Bowl. In that year, in his second to last year, Kurt Warner was able to throw for 4,583 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. And he ended up taking the Cardinals all the way to the Super Bowl in his second to last season. In his final year as an Arizona Cardinal, Kurt Warner finished with 3,753 yards, 26 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, with a passer rating of 93. To give you an idea, Kurt Warner threw for the second highest amount of yards in his career as an Arizona Cardinal, and his fourth most yards in his final year. That is just absolutely incredible. And because of those numbers, Ken Whisenhunt never thought of starting Matt Leinart, which is fine. We've seen plenty of cases where quarterbacks sat in for established veterans. For example, Aaron Rodgers sat in for Brett Favre, and then Brett Favre retired, and then Brett Favre unretired, and then Brett Favre didn't get his starting job back, so he went to the Jets. And then they changed the cover of Madden 09 to the one with him in a Packers jersey to the one with him in a Jets jersey, and then he retired again, and then he went to the Vikings, and then he actually retired after 2 seasons. In 2010, Matt Leinart would finally get his opportunity. Kurt Warner was gone, and he would only have to beat out Max Hall, John Skelton, and one-year wonder Derek Anderson to win the starting job from the Arizona Cardinals. However, apparently he was so bad that he was not able to beat out Derek Anderson, and the Cardinals would go on to release Matt Leinart on September 4th, which was 2 days after his final preseason game. Matt Leinart would then go on to sign with the Houston Texans to back up Matt Schaub. And since Matt Schaub played all 16 games, Leinart would never get a chance during the 2010 season. In the 2011 offseason, there was speculation that he would unite with the Seattle Seahawks because new head coach Pete Carroll was his head coach during USC to compete for the starting job. In a very surprising move, Matt Leinart opted to return to Houston. Now, what would have happened if he reunited with Pete Carroll is a completely different video. In week 10, Matt Leinart would finally get his opportunity. Matt Schaub injured his foot, and the Texans named Matt Leinart their starter. And Matt Leinart would finally start in week 12 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is the most heartbreaking part of it all. In that season alone, Matt Leinart threw 13 passes, completed 10 of them for 1 touchdown and no interceptions. This gave him a pretty nice passer rating of 110, but he would get injured in week 12 against the Jacksonville Jaguars and would get replaced by TJ Yates. And at this point of his career, Matt Leinart has already suffered 3 season-ending injuries. And on March 12, 2012, the Houston Texans would go on to cut Matt Leinart. Leinart would then go on to sign with the Oakland Raiders and back up his former college teammate Carson Palmer. Palmer would get injured in week 16, and 2 former college football standouts, Matt Leinart and Terrell Pryor, would split first-team quarterback reps. Yes, for those of you guys that are recent NFL fans, Terrell Pryor used to be a really good quarterback in the college ranks, and during this time with the Oakland Raiders, he was trying to become a quarterback in the league. Terrell Pryor would end up beating out Matt Leinart for the start in week 17, and the Oakland Raiders would not re-sign Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart's final stop was the Buffalo Bills. After EJ Manuel got injured and Kevin Cobb was out with the concussion, the Bills signed Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart and Thad Lewis would compete for a 4th-string quarterback job behind undrafted rookie Jeff Toole, and Thad Lewis won the competition. Leinart would get released by the Bills on August 30th, 2013. So at this point, I know what you guys are wondering. This guy had it all. This guy was incredible. This guy had the measurables, knew how to run a pro-style offense, and was literally every NFL team's dream coming out of college. He won the Heisman Trophy in 1 year, and in the next year, he was like 2nd place. Why was he not successful in the NFL? Well, guys, in the NFL, you need a couple of things to be successful. The first thing is pure 100% dumb luck. Especially if you're a quarterback, you need to hope that the head coach wants to run the same scheme that you are successful in running.
What is it about Whisenhunt that drove you nuts?
I just think that he
I came out and said it when he got hired. I just said I don't think he's a great head football coach.
Why is he not great?
Because in my experience, I just don't think he's a guy that can adapt. I think when you're a football coach, especially in NFL, when you're dealing with guys who are making more money than you, you're dealing with guys from different cultures, walks of life, different personalities. In that locker room, it can be hard. And he just wasn't a guy that adapted to that. It was always his way or the highway. And I think people would agree with me on that. We didn't get off on a good start. I worked my butt off to get back in his good graces. And you know what? I just wasn't his guy. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. And I've been very honest about it over the years because, I just don't think he's a great head football coach. And a lot of quarterbacks would say that have come behind me. And I think, like you said, a lot of people have said that in different organizations. And I'm not going to bash the guy, and all that. I just, I think when Marcus Mariota got drafted there, my first thought was I don't know if coach can coach this guy or can get the most out of him, because Marcus Mariota is a special talent. And
you need to hope you get an opportunity. And once you get the opportunity, you also need to be successful in executing and making the most of that opportunity. And unfortunately for Matt Leinart, he got injured on every single opportunity he got. Most specifically with the Houston Texans. He was playing fairly well. And then I guess as time progressed forward, he got less and less confident in himself, which is so unfortunate. Furthermore, there's been remarks about his character and his work ethic. And I don't really question that, considering how much attention USC got and how he was best friends with Backstreet Boys sensation Nick Lachey. Some people say he partied way too hard. At the end of the day, we can't really know why he didn't succeed. Today, Matt Leinart is a studio analyst for Fox Sports on Saturdays. He analyzes college football, which is what he was successful at. But I cannot help but wonder what would have happened if the Houston Texans drafted Reggie Bush #1 overall and the Saints picked up Matt Leinart with the 2nd overall pick. Could we have seen him potentially become one of the faces of the NFL? You will never know. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comment section if you would like to see more content like this. And if so, what college players should we cover next? I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm signing out.